Hello. Adjust my camera. Okay. Hi. So, I dyed yarn yesterday. And I always think about how it would be such a cool thing to like film the first look at the new freshly washed yarn. This is the only time I recommend putting it in the washer. It's part of my process to make the dyed yarn, but after that, like, it should probably just be hand washed. But I always think. Sorry if you can hear the truck outside. I'll try to speak louder, but. So I thought it would be great to share that moment, but it's often really late by the time I take it out of the washer, and the lighting's not good and I'm tired, so I thought, well, maybe I'll just do the rinsing part a bit earlier so I can get it through the washer and bring it here. Oh, hi, Bleeding. I created this one out of a pattern. I forget who did it, but it was based on the goat, Black Phillip. This one is a Beanie Baby. He was my first goat. There. Trying to get him in focus. And this one was created by my friend, the Winter Nightmare, who actually has a crochet Etsy shop. And they just gave this to me as a gift, which was cool. I was not expecting to receive a surprise goat, so now I have 3. Yes, I also think so. Thank you. So, oh, the other thing I had, just really quick, was I'm going to make a cardigan out of smaller versions of this square, which I made. This is not my yarn, but it's a mosaic granny square that I've been working on the design of, and I think I've mostly finalized it, so it's going to be my second granny square cardigan. I'm not a huge cardigan person, but like, I was like, you know, my first one fell apart because Karen's Simply Soft yarn just is so soft. It just doesn't stick. It's just like, so, yeah. I need one of yarn that will actually hold, because even when I tied the ends in knots in my first cardigan, it just wouldn't stay. So, yeah. As a beginner, that looks like God's work. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it definitely took a while to be, to get better at crochet and mosaic crochet. Oh, speaking of winter, this is a shawl that I bought from them, and the goat came as a surprise gift in the shawl package. The goat is very top heavy, so yeah. So yarn, I actually, as you may know, I work with plant fibers, which have a different type of dye and like method of dyeing yarn than protein fibers, which is what most people in the hand dyed yarn world do, because it's a lot of wool and merino and mohair and stuff. But I thought, well, clearly there's a niche for plant fibers, and I love plant fibers, so. First one, let's see, pulling them out somewhat at random. but I wanted one that was closer to just a white yarn, and it's not exactly white, but but ooh, this is sort of a gray silver colorway, and this is a new base to me, so I'm gonna have to learn how to kind of get it all looking flat and stuff like my other yarn does. But the colorway came out good. Like, yeah, this is, it's not tangled exactly, but it's just like very squiggly, so hopefully once it hangs to dry a bit, we'll fix that. But it's kind of a nice silvery gray blue. I'm going to call this "And in the Moonfall," after a song that I learned when I was practicing voice in college, or I was minoring in voice, but there's this musical I haven't seen, but I love this one song from it. It's called The Mystery of the Mystery of Edwin Drood, and there's this song I think called Moonfall. So I sang that song since at the time I had a voice in that range before I took tea. So I think that's what the yarn's name is going to be. Forgot to bring clothes hangers, which is what I use to like hang the yarn while it's drying. Here's another new colorway. Most of them are ones I haven't attempted before. I wanted to see if I could make a really intense green that kind of faded into a darker color. Definitely gonna let it dry and then just kind of work with the skein to make sure it smooths out. I'm thinking of calling this one Slime Green Abyssal Queen because it kind of has a sea creature vibe. I was expecting this one to be even darker, like I thought it would kind of be black on one end, but with cotton yarn, it's a bit hard to. I was finding it was hard to like get the dye to actually strike the yarn and like go into it. So I will have to keep learning how to work with this base. Okay. Here's my second attempt at purple. The last one came out more mauve or like berry color. This one is like that. That's definitely purple. What helped was I got some some dyes that are the actual primary colors. I was going based off what I learned in school, like red, blue, and yellow being the primaries, but it turns out that for paint you need yellow, but then instead of red and blue, cyan and magenta. So those are really the primary colors. Although the dyes I got were named something more like turquoise and fuchsia, so very specific shades of pinkish red and blue. So, but that way I can actually create more of the colors that I want to make from a smaller set of dyes. By the way, this yarn base is from Knit Picks, which is kind of a new to me yarn base. It's their cotton yarn, and the dye is from Dharma Trading Co. Here's another version of the green. Can't fully see it on camera, but like I love how this came out. A lot of like different ranges of green, a whole range of different shades of green. Oh, this is one we haven't seen before. Same idea as the green, but with pink. If anyone's watching who is a fan of the festival yarn that Furls had, guess what this was inspired by? I was like, can I make my own version kind of that? And then we have this really deep purple black down here. So I wanted to put my own twist on it, but still kind of include that hot pink. The working title for that one was R.I.P. Festival, but I decided to name it something else. Homecoming Dawn, because it makes me think of this one overnight Greyhound bus ride that I took to visit this place where I live now, but I didn't live there at the time, but I knew that I wanted to make this place my home, and I was going to visit my chosen brother and their family, so it felt like coming home, and it was so cool to like I had ridden the bus all night, and then I saw the sky starting to lighten, and yeah. Then I went to my Airbnb and just passed out. Here's another skein of this pink and purple one. I will definitely update you how the yarn looks as it dries, because I'm a bit nervous, because like it's been totally fine with the bamboo base I've been using to put them in these bags and then wash the yarn on hand wash, which is really the only way I can get all of the dye out, because plant fiber dye just doesn't come out. Like, plant fiber doesn't absorb the way that protein fiber does, so it takes a lot to rinse all of it out. But I'm also like, well, that's very looks a bit like a bad hair day for the yarns. I'm hoping it turns out okay, so and looks so that I can make it into a nice skein. I'll keep you updated. Ooh, wow. I think this was one of my attempts at the Pan Pride colors. It might have been my first attempt, in which I found out, wow, it's really hard to keep 3 separate colors away from each other in the pan and looking bright, but I still kind of like how it turned out. We had the blue touch the green and pink section, so there's a bit of a the muted color there. And I was also finding that it's really hard, like I'm gonna have to work hard at getting full coverage everywhere I want it on the yarn. You can see some white left there. But I kind of like how, like, it just sort of tells a story. This is one of the first attempts that I made, so I still think it's gorgeous, and it'll look great as whatever it turns out to be. I don't want to twist it too tight right now into a skein, because for one thing, it's got that like slight tangle thing going on because it's wet, but also I need to let it hang to dry first. Coffee break. Oh yeah, I think this might be the one I did when I was much more confident about how to make sure the yarn kind of stayed separate. So most of this is a lot the brighter and less like there are only 2 colors in most places that kind of blend into each other, so I was able to control where the colors went a lot better. So I am going to start doing a Pride yarn collection, and this was the first foray into that. So I need cute names. I also tell people what flag they're looking at. So I was thinking, well, this one could be Pan Dyed Pride, because pan dyeing is what I do. But also Pan Pride. Then I have like other ideas. I still need a good pun for the bi flag. Closest I can think of is like, I think the Rainbow Bridge in Norse mythology is the Bifrost. So we could do something with that. I have other ideas, but they're kind of basic, so like I want it to be a good pun. Another skein of the green, I did 4 each of the green and the pink. And dyed 14 skeins total, so. I'm putting all of these in my bag so I can hang them up when I get downstairs. Hi, Winter. You're just in time to see some yarn. I was telling people this was inspired by the festival, the one that's out of stock at Furls. So I was just like, well, I wonder if I can make something like that with my own twist. How is your day going? Right, that's how I feel too. I'm like, ooh, color. That every time I get to dye yarn, I'm just like, yes. Oh, this is actually the first attempt I made at the Pan Pride color. Is it? I don't know. One sec, we're experiencing technical yarn difficulties. Yeah, I think this is the, okay, now I can show it. I think this is the first attempt I made at the Pan Pride one, but it wasn't as bright as I was trying to make it, so I decided to name it Gay Swamp Critter. So that will be this skein's name. Oh, cool. Saw a picture of Ogre holding a puppy, so my day's going well. Nice. My day has been up and down. I am excited about getting to see the yarn that I dyed yesterday, though I haven't worked with cotton before, so I'm a bit worried about how like the yarn looks like it needs to be like straightened out a bit, even though even though it's gay, like the fibers are a bit chaotic. So I'm hoping when it hangs to dry, it'll like just kind of settle into the nice straight lines again. But if not, I'll have to figure out something else, because I need to have yarn that I can use and sell. But there's so much dye in plant fibers that I just can't wash it out by hand. So yeah, it's a process. Thank you. I'm glad you like the name. Might watch the Funhouse tonight. Cool. That sounds fun. Oh yeah, here's another one of the festival inspired ones. think this is the last one. I did 4 of those. Oh yeah, I was thinking it sounded like one. Oh yeah. So this is actually me trying to recreate the colorway I called Dragonfly. Aw, thank you. Which is this yarn. So it's probably not going to look exactly the same, but it was cool to kind of come up with something that's sort of the mauve and the mauve purple and the mossy blue green with hints of like lime green. Like it's such a complicated group of colors that I came up with in the first skein, and it was mostly by an accident. I was like trying to do something else, and then I got a bunch of dye on it, and I was like, oh no, it's a weird mash of brown colors. Wait, I'll put some blue on it, and then it just worked. But yeah, at least right now it looks like it's more purple and less green, but this was like an entire, one end was purple and one end was more blue, green, yellow, so it's always interesting to see how they look in hank or ball form versus fabric. And the last one to unbag, when in doubt, add blue. Love it. Yes. I was like, maybe this will just tie things together. I was trying to create a slime green colorway. It was supposed to fade into black at this end, and it's more of like a deep green. You can't really see it. It's a bit warmer than it's coming across on camera, but I love how it came out. It's like kelp. And it doesn't stand out as much as some of the others. Like it looks more like I meant to do this, but you can see where there are points where I had trouble getting the dye to fully go through. Like there are some white bits of yarn which were like inside the skein. I was like, wow, it's so hard to get the dye to actually strike the full skein. So I'm gonna have to learn how to work with this base. It's cotton. Oh, I'm not sure you were here, Winter, when I was showing one of my other pan pride attempts that's a bit more bright. So at some point I just started putting most of the yarn in a bag and then having 1/3 of it in the pan, and then when I'm done with that, putting that in a bag and then putting a different third in the pan. It's hard to manage like a trio of bright colors. Yeah, and here's just purple that this was my second attempt at purple since I have a friend who asked me to do some, and oh, thank you. Do you mean the Pan Pride one, or this one, or? Oh yeah, no, no worries. But I got some of the actual primaries for dye or paint, so I can actually make a wider range of like vibrant colors. So I actually had the yellow primary dye, which is one of the ones in the, well, thank you. Yellow is one of the primaries that in the actual color wheel for dye and paint, and the one that I was using, which is the one I learned in school, which is like red, red, blue, yellow. But it turns out like when you're mixing dyes, you need more like cyan, magenta yellow. So yes, I mentioned the shawl earlier. So thanks. This is the winter that I bought the shawl from. I also mentioned that the goat came with it as a surprise gift. So, yeah, thank you. And I was having trouble with my shawl falling off, and then I realized, wait a minute, people invented brooches a long time ago to stop clothes from falling off, or like shawl pins. So and I had happened to be given this random brooch, which is a skeleton deer. So I was like, well, that's good timing. Yeah, there it is. My patron god is basically a skeleton deer in god form. Gwen Appeneve, as you may know. But yeah, the actual primary colors are cyan, magenta, and yellow, but a lot of people don't know. Yeah, that's what I've been learning. I saw a video that was explaining how there are actually a lot of different color systems where we have found out that different primaries work for different things, and apparently in order to make the actual full range of colors that humans can see, I mean most humans, then since the range of colors isn't really a circle or a triangle, it's kind of oblong on this one graph that the person showed, you would need colors, you would need primary colors that don't actually exist, or they're wavelengths of light that we can't see. So a lot of the color systems are, all the color systems are just like trying to help us understand a really complex thing, which is color. So yeah. Yeah, thank you. I love this pin. Like a friend brought it over, and it was kind of by the accident that I got asked if I went to have it, and I was like yes. Oh, cool. Um, I'm so glad that you also that Zara, hi, that you also have a thing from from winter. Etsy was holding my review hostage for a few days. So yeah, they wouldn't let me. I'm not sure this is what you meant, but they wouldn't let me review until yesterday, and I was like, come on, I got the thing. I'm ready to leave a stellar review. So, but they were like, no, 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 you have to come back. So, the other thing I was showing people just at the beginning was this pretty much finalized the design of my the mosaic granny square that I'm going to make into my second cardigan. This is larger than the actual square will be because this is my Stitch and Scream square for May. I've completely given up trying to do the actual stitch and just like pick a thing that I want to do. Yeah. Right, what yarns are in this? It's two of the Hobie Sparkle Universe. So the pink and orange one is one of the Halloween ones. I forget which one. And the yellow and no, the kind of blue-gray one is which fades into turquoise up here, is one of the normal Halloween, one of the normal universes that is not Halloween. The idea of something normal that, as opposed to the idea of Halloween not being the normal state of affairs. What? Oh, cool. Yeah, I thought it was something like that. Like, there's Dark Matter, Horror Halo. Yeah. So I still had a few, so I was like, well, I may as well. I'm trying to use special yarn that I only have like one skein of for my squares each month. So that's what I did this time. So obviously not my yarn, but my crochet. Yeah, that makes sense. Based off the furthest delivery date. Sometimes it's a blood orange soda day, so. I randomly got one of these from my grocery trip the other day when I was at Trader Joe's. I mean, I chose to get it. It wasn't like they put it in my cart for free, which would be great, but oh well. So I was like, you know, I need kind of a pick me up. So I also have coffee because of the neurodivergent urge to have like 6 different cups of different things, like water, coffee, juice, soda, sparkling water. They all fulfill different needs. So I'm very silly happy. Do you have any of those friends where they kind of disappear from your life for a little while, but you keep reuniting, and it's like no time has passed. Um, yeah, I think so. At least I certainly know what you mean, and it's I'm guessing that you got to see them recently, and that's cool. Yay! And that, and thank you for sharing that, because that's kind of a good reminder for me too. Like, it's not exactly why I've been a bit glum in some ways recently, but it's a similar thing. So it's nice to think, well, sometimes these things sort of come and go. So yeah. Um, I I keep my streaming stuff in my. Wow. Okay. The sun says it might be time to end the stream soon. We lost the curtain that was here, so yes, I keep my streaming stuff in this bag. It's one of the Halloween Trader Joe's bags, and I just put all of this yarn that I unbagged in it. So wow, 14 skeins. It's been a weird week. There was a big layoff at my work. Thankfully, I survived, but my beloved manager did not. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, but glad that you survived. And it was deeply somber. Then it was like my friend just knew, and I got that random DM like long time no chat. Well, I'm glad that they were there in your the DMs. I think I'm gonna put these back in the other bag so I can put my streaming stuff. Oh no. Okay, there. Yeah, I tend to believe that the universe tries to look after us too, or like in my practice, it is kind of the universe at large. But for me, I also have like deity and spirit allies and friends that I believe are also trying to help me. So. Excuse me while I cover you up with yarn that I just dyed. I can put it in my other bag. Oh yeah, it did, but I was actually wondering if I can use this as a makeshift curtain. Just while I'm streaming. No, you are not the only person who uses grocery totes for your projects. Pardon for the moving you, but I just really want to show you what it looks like up there. Not really covering the bright part of the window, which is over there, but kudos to Winter. It makes a beautiful curtain. So, yeah. I use my skinny puppy tote for one of my projects. Yeah, like, what are totes for if not for yarn? It is pretty, right? I love how the light passes through it. Trying to get all of the mesh bags in first, and then the yarn. When I went out to rinse my yarn, I thought I counted exactly 14 mesh bags, and then I had one missing. So I was like, well, I guess I'll just stick this last skein of yarn. Ooh, I do like how it looks in the light. I'll just stick this last one in the bag. In the kitchen trash bag, which is what I use to carry my yarn with the dye in it, so that it won't get on all of the things. So I'll just stick this in loose and then get a bag when I'm inside. So I did. Yes, it's a. You can expand your shop to be like, also does curtains. Let's be real, there are some that are super sturdy but way cheaper than buying an actual project bag, yes. And unfortunately it goes the other way too. Like I had this really cool reusable shopping bag from Joann's that I tried to use for groceries, but it tore. And I had to carry my groceries home kind of in my arms instead of using the strap, and my back was not happy by the end of that. Like, ah, exactly. This is kind of a good colorway for the toys that you're referencing, right? I think they're kind of green. My yarn really does look the best in the sunlight, so I'm actually kind of glad that it's there, even though it's hard to see. This is the first time I have worked with cotton, so I'm still learning how to work with it. Oh, cool. I think even as we've talked, like this has gotten a bit more dry, and I can see that I can see that the strands are starting to look a bit more like settled into one place, instead of like not quite tangled but kind of tangled. So I'm glad to see that's happening. This was inspired by, wow, that's a vibrant pink. This was inspired by the festival, as I said before, but I don't know if all of you were here back then, but and one of my pan pride attempts. There will be a lot more pride flags. Yeah, it glows. And it's actually really hard to photograph red and pink, so it doesn't look quite that saturated in real life, but it's a cool cool effect. This is my attempt to recreate the one that the goats are sitting on right now. The dragonfly. which is also the pattern I decided to use. Or I kind of recreated it from a dragonfly project someone had posted a picture of, but I didn't see a pattern, so. Slimy green. Inspired by one of my fellow yarn tubers. And I found more mesh bags at the bottom of the pile. Every time I move the goats, this one is just like, bye, and dives off. Well, I'm really glad I could show you my, yeah, the, green one. That's right, because in the Marvel movies, he has like a green color scheme going on. Yeah, that's cool. It's funny. I'm also a polytheist, so I also have friends that are the devotees of him. So it's like, oh yes, there's the character, then the god, and yeah, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, well, I'm glad I could show people that those moments when I first get to pull the yarn out of the bag and see what it looks like, which is kind of the first time I get to see it done, even though it looks more like itself when it's dried, but still, it's fun to see that first bit. But I think that's pretty much all I have for right now. But thanks so much for coming and hanging out. It's time to goat. Wow, the horns are glowing. Where? Goat. Well, in the area my gloves covered, trying to see if you can see, I have pink and green spots all up my arm in the area my gloves did not cover. So the yarn definitely spat back. But that's fine. It's a great, it's an awesome trade-off because I get to play with these gorgeous colors. So yeah, thanks for hanging out. As Winter said, goat bye.